college students are abandoning religion in record numbers. The American Freshman Studies shows nearly 28% of those who began college in the fall of 2014 do not identify with any particular faith, bringing religious affiliations on campus to an all-time low.
I don't really believe that there's like a higher power.
Muslims pray, we pray 5 times a day.
Growing up in a Thai family, Buddhism was pretty big.
Which one of us do you think is a better atheist?
I don't believe what I used to believe, but I haven't arrived at a belief still.
I want to say me embracing the college experience made my faith stronger.
Religion was a part of my upbringing because I went to like Sunday school on Sundays a lot, and I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, and the entire town was pretty damn religious.
My homeschool community definitely shunned me for going to public school because they believed I was being handed over to the devil, but then my just Christian friends were sort of like, oh, you were homeschooled, that's cool, that must be why you're such a good Christian. And then when I went to college, it was like, oh, she's really starting to have really big questions. And sort of, I sort of not even just had questions about like God and hell and all kinds of things, but I was challenging the Christian hypocrisy. And you know, our whole life goal is based on love, but we're actually really not that loving if you aren't a Christian, white, straight, whatever.
Well, going away to college, I felt disconnected because I wasn't in a community which really enabled me to practice what I was raised on. You know, I was just open to do new and different things, which isn't exactly, it's not a bad thing. You know, it's good to open your mind and, you know, break borders. But, you know, I felt that, you know, since I was raised, I had this idea in my head that, you know, religion is a part of me. So I guess I lost a part of me.
When I first transferred to New Paltz, spring 2015, it was really different for me. At NIAC, it was a private school, so we had guys and girls dorms on opposite side of campus. There was open dorm hours, so girls were only allowed in our rooms on weekends during set hours, doors open, lights on, feet on the floor, RAs walking all over the place to make sure nothing was going down. And I came here and I moved into Dubois in a suite with girls across the hall from me 24/7. And at first it was completely different, and coming to New Paltz out of all places, which is very open, hipstery town, was just completely different than anything I've ever grown up with. So I feel like I kind of explored more of what the world has to offer rather than being in the bubble that NIAC was. So coming to New Paltz at first was difficult for me, but then I also started getting involved in the world and the college life. And it wasn't until like a year after I transferred here until I found like a Christian club on campus and started really getting involved again. I wouldn't say like I lost my faith, but I just didn't even look for the community because in my mind it didn't exist here, but it does.
I think college has the potential to drastically affect a person's beliefs, and I think it can do it in a number of different ways. One, just in terms of the diversity of people that a college student is exposed to. That is definitely something college students experience, though, is a larger diversity of people that come from different backgrounds, and that for many of them this is their first time away from their parents, and obviously there are some people who live at home and do go to college. But I think the friends and the fellow college students that they're exposed to have the potential to drastically affect someone's way of thinking.
It didn't really change my beliefs, because I've pretty much reached my conclusions on my own. One thing it did is give me a lot more confidence to believe in what I did. Because at least in high school, I'm sure there was more atheists and agnostics around, but it wasn't something that people talked about. And I just didn't talk about it because most of the groups I hung out with, a lot of them were very religious. A lot of my friends were religious. So when you go to college, I started realizing, hey, there's other people that are atheists, that are skeptics. There's a skeptic club. There's groups on the internet, and once you start running into these people, you realize, hey, it's okay to be different. And I would say the final part of that for me was the work of Christopher Hitchens, who I really became enthusiastic about. And he convinced, at this point when I was reading his stuff, I'd already reached the position of an atheist, but he really convinced me that it wasn't anything to be ashamed of, and it wasn't anything to be sad about.
I was apprehensive to use the word religious before I came to college, but even more so now. I think religion is a set of rules that can be very oppressive and very constricting. And I would say that my biggest change has been that I don't think that you can live your life based on a set of moral principles from one particular book or guideline or person. Like, for example, the Bible was written so long ago and in such different contexts that people who are in religious communities use those exact phrases or particular parts to manipulate groups of people or justify certain behaviors that really aren't okay and subjugate certain people.
My first semester here is when my dad actually had his court date and went to jail, and I was going through a lot and it really sucked, and I had to see a therapist on campus and everything, and I was living with people who I never met before in my entire life, and it just wasn't a fun time. But so I kind of had to recreate my views on the world, and being that New Paltz is an accepting place and isn't going to judge you for what you think or how you feel, and people here actually want to listen to you and actually want to get to know you for who you are, that really just made it okay for me to be able to believe whatever I wanted, and for people to not be oh no, you're wrong, or you're crazy for thinking that.
I work with the MSA, the Muslim Student Association, and together we try to build a community of not just Muslims, but everybody. It's not exclusive to Muslims, but everybody who come together and understanding, that we're all just one big human race, and that there's many faiths on this campus. And a project that we really, really are trying to get going is an interfaith banquet. So, in the world, there's always issues among religions. There's slaughterings in one country from one group to the other, and there's issues in one country because of certain laws. And we just want to show the world, with good media coverage in New Paltz, hopefully, that we could have an interfaith banquet. We could all eat together. There's no problem. One person believes one thing, another person believes another thing. In Arabic, in the Quran, we have something. There's a verse that says, "Lakum dinukum waliya din." You have your religion, and I have mine. That's it. End of story. So I feel through the MSA, we could really, that group and the whole support and foundation of it really enables us to do good in communities, because, it's an essential foundation, and that there are other essential foundations which believe in different creeds, and when we get together, we could do a lot of good on campus.
In my opinion, people that are so set on their belief and come here and say that college does not influence them personally or in their spiritual life, I would say is not really open-minded to learning about other people's beliefs and stuff, because I feel as humans, as people, we're all connected in some way, however you want to believe it, we are. And when we talk to people on an intimate level, we're always influenced from everything around us. We're influenced from our environment. We're influenced from the people that we surround ourselves with. So if I grew up as a Christian in a Christian home, which I didn't, but if I did, and then I went to SUNY New Paltz and met all these other people, I would have been yo, this is weird. I'm only looking for Christians, and I'm going to stay within this group. But then therefore, my views are not going to be influenced from anything else besides what I've grown up with. Therefore, I stay the same. So I'm really happy that I didn't grow up in a Christian home.
I think we have to deal with the reality of the university. And I tend to like to approach the idea of the university, there's actually a book about that, and think that it's very important that while we accept the importance of the university and the importance of learning, and just in terms of the knowledge that we acquire, but also vocationally speaking, is that after we get a degree and enter into that work world and have a career and so forth, while all of that is important, I also think it's very important for people in general, but especially religious people, to also make attempts to understand the university and the type of knowledge that they're being exposed to. And oftentimes the knowledge that we learn in the university is deemed objective.
There are people who fight wars to promote their religion. There are people who give up their whole lives to just save other people in the name of their religion. What is the source of knowledge? Where does this power come from? It just can't it's the biggest question that I had in my life. I don't know what's scarier, whether there's a God or if there isn't. And that's my question right now, you know?
I think oftentimes that when you get to the college level, if you've never been exposed to deconstructionism and the idea of that approaching a particular topic from the standpoint of that asking questions that could potentially poke holes in that traditional theories or traditional ways of understanding that, oftentimes people aren't prepared to get involved in those conversations from these different perspectives.
But it kind of taught me to take a lot of time for myself and to meditate, I think, which is very important, and to, I would say, to share like happiness with people. I think was one of the biggest takes I've gotten, because happiness is definitely a virtue.
If you're a die-hard liberal Democrat, which is a group of people I used to show disdain for and now hold dearly, or if you're a Republican, conservative Christian, you think you have the answer. You know, both camps are sort of waving their flag like, come to our side. And it's not really how it works. You know, they don't have the answer and they don't have the answer. And all you can do when you stand in the middle, which I think a lot of people stand in the middle, is sort of say, you know, no matter what, the answer is to all these questions, you know, God, prayer, abortion, you know, immigration laws, whatever. You know, your motivation behind what you believe in and what you fight for and your actions should be that you want to love people.